I thought I knew what to expect visiting Cancun for the very first time during the Christmas week in December 2023. But I was so wrong. From unexpected tipping to ridiculously expensive photo fees. Here are the 7 things that totally shocked me about visiting Mexico for the very first time. The last one, easily the most shocking, and I think you'll agree with me once you hear it. So let's start with something that really caught me off guard. Tipping. I currently reside in Canada. I've resided here for a few years now. And something I've noticed is tipping is the norm here when you eat out. So like you go to a restaurant. So it's something people will do. They'll tip the waiters that serve them at the restaurant. I rarely eat out. So that tipping isn't part of my day-to-day life here. And besides, in my home country, Nigeria, tipping isn't the norm either. So tipping isn't a cultural norm that I'm used to. So that's why I was truly shocked when I got to Cancun in Mexico and found out that tipping is a cultural norm. I mean, I found this out when I got there and discovered that, oh, you're expected to tip the tour guides, the tour drivers, even housekeeping, like the persons that take care of, keep your room clean at the hotel. Put in mind that we stayed at an all-inclusive resort. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to tip the cleaner. So these were things that I didn't know. And I mean, having gotten there, I had to comply. I don't think it would have been right for me to have been like, oh, since I didn't know, hence I won't comply. So this was a huge shock. And then it also hit my budget because, as I said, I had to comply, or I wanted to do the right thing by ensuring that I did, appreciate the persons that ensured we had a good experience. But this was an unplanned extra expense. So, my budget was just like, And then just let me know. I'm also just curious. What are the cultural surprises? What are the tipping surprises that you've come across in like places you've traveled to? What's your cultural experience or norm about tipping? Please share in the comments. I'm really curious to know. I don't think I'm the only one that found tipping, a shock. So do let me know. Here's another shocker. A lot of prices in Cancun were listed in both pesos and United States dollars. I found this surprising because I was like, I'm in Mexico, hence the currency used there is pesos. I was just surprised to find out that, it was things like souvenirs, snacks, and what have you were listed in both currencies. And what was even more shocking was that sometimes it was even cheaper for you to pay for items in United States dollars than in pesos, because by the time you consider the conversion rates, it just made more sense to pay in US dollars. I was really surprised at this. I mean, a colleague of mine had mentioned this to me because she had traveled to Cancun like several years ago, that if I took United States dollars as the currency I used to buy or trade for items in Cancun, that I would not have any issues at all. But I didn't believe her, so I took more pesos than I did US dollars. And so when I got there and found out that, okay, I could easily have survived in US dollars alone, I was just totally blown away by that fact. And maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised because Cancun is a major tourist spot, especially for Americans. So that probably explains it. Now let's talk souvenirs. I'm well aware that when you travel to a new country, tourist items are usually quite pricey, but the prices of those tourist items in Cancun were on another level. I was totally shocked, taken aback by it. So I saw these beautiful obsidian carvings. That was carvings made from volcanic rock. They were stunning, and I really wanted to get some souvenirs for my colleagues at work. Sadly, I couldn't get it because the prices were outrageous. I just couldn't afford it. Eventually, I settled for 2 fridge magnets and some Mexican themed key holders, which were budget friendly and beautiful as well. So that's how I dealt with that whole souvenir scenario. It was just crazy. Like the prices were shocking, I tell you, truly shocking. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about Mexico? If you're like me, before my trip to Cancun in December 2023, what I'd heard from the media was that Mexico was a dangerous place because it's overrun, or you have like lots of drug cartels there. So it's unsafe, it's dangerous. You just really have to be very careful. So this was the mindset that I had when I landed in Cancun in 2023. And I must say, I was totally shocked to find out that this was not true. Cancun was amazingly beautiful, beautiful beaches. The people were amazing, very friendly, very welcoming, and the culture is so rich. While I was there, I learned about Dia de los Muertos. It's the Day of the Dead. It's a public holiday on November 2nd where people gather to celebrate the lives of those that have, people, loved ones that have passed on. So I just found that really touching and amazing. So I think something I took away from that was, I'm not saying that Mexico doesn't have, drug issues, and there aren't certain places that are dangerous, but I think it was just amazing to see that it was Cancun for me was a shift in mindset to see that there are beautiful and amazing things happening in Mexico that should be celebrated. So yeah. Oh yeah, and then just something else. If you've been to Mexico, what's one thing that really surprised you about the culture? Please let me know in the comments. Okay, so this one made me smile because it made me realize how different Spanish is from English when it comes to pronunciation. When you see this word, you probably think it's, as a native speaker, English speaker, you might probably think it's Geraldo, and you'll be wrong. It's actually pronounced as Geraldo. And when I heard it, I was so surprised. So one of the Expedia agents that booked our excursion to us when we got to Cancun, that was his name. And when I heard it, I was like, would you mind spelling it out? I thought it was going to start with a H. When he started with a G, I was taken aback. I was like, what? I mean, it's the same thing with when you say this word. You probably, if you're a native English speaker like me, would go, oh, Mexico, right? Nope. It's actually Mexico in Spanish. So I was just totally blown away as to how rich and different and just totally beautiful languages can be. So that was something I found really shocking about my trip in Cancun. I was completely blown away by the amount of water-based adventures that Cancun offers. Parasailing, cenote swimming, kayaking, snorkeling, scuba diving, kayaking, clear boat tours. I was like, what is going on here? I was just totally shocked. Like, there's so many. And well, I'm not a great swimmer, so I was like, okay, what exactly can I do? So I love that they had like a really good variety of things I could do that were also land-based. But I would say like my best top 3 water-based adventures that I did while I was in Cancun were the dolphin interaction and the aquarium trek, both at the Delphinos Interactive Aquarium in Cancun, as well as cave exploring or splunking at Rio Secretos Nature Reserves. Doing amazing. The biggest shock of all, the outrageously high cost for professional photos. At the Delphinos Interactive Cancun, where we did 2 experiences, the dolphin interaction as well as the aquarium trek. The dolphin interaction cost the professional photos for that, the fee for the professional photos, which covered the photographs itself, the videos, as well as a beautiful physical photo frame that was given, cost 2,470 Mexican pesos, which was equivalent to about 145 US dollars. That's just for the dolphin interaction. For the aquarium trek, which was the second experience we had at the same location, cost 50 US dollars, which was about 962 Mexican pesos, 50 centavos. Absolutely wild. The next encounter we had with outrageously high cost for photos was at Rio Secreto, while we're exploring the beautiful, I'll give you beautiful, amazingly stunning underground caves at the natural reserve there. It cost 110 US dollars, which translates to about 1,903 Mexican pesos. And this time, there were no videos. It was just strictly photos that were taken while in the caves. Now, you might probably be wondering, okay, why didn't you use your pictures, your phone rather for it? I wish. Turns out that both places have restrictions on you being able to use whether it's a camera or a phone to capture pictures or videos. So it's either you pay the ridiculously high professional fees so that you have the memories from that, physical, well, maybe not physical, but like visual recollection of what had happened. Oh, well, you do without. And I didn't want to do without. So, well, I paid the money for it, which is why I blew through my budget. Because put in mind that this cost is separate from the admission price. So the fee you would pay to enter those places is separate from what you would pay for to get those pictures. That's why in my previous video, I explained how and why I blew through the budget I had for this spontaneous Cancun trip that I did during Christmas of 2023 rather. Looking back, what I would change is either I would have budgeted better to have ensured I had sufficient funds to have covered this, or have looked for cheaper adventures activities we could have done in Cancun that didn't entail such high fees for professional photographs. The truth is, these surprises didn't ruin my trip at all, but I did learn a valuable lesson though, which is do your research. Because a quick Google search, for instance, could have revealed to me from the website of Delfino's Interactive Aquariums Cancun's website that they charge a fee for professional photographs and they don't allow personal photographs. So just that basic search could have revealed this to me and I could have been able to plan better. So that's something I would advise before going for a destination. Just do some research out to what the destination is about, what are the activities you can do, and if there are any restrictions, so that you're able to budget well, have a realistic budget, and plan better, basically. It also allows you to be able to know what to expect. So you're not going there blindsided by what just happened, like I was, but at least you're better prepared for whatever comes. And then something else I would say is come prepared, but be flexible. Come prepared, but be flexible. Things change. It's great to have a plan. It's great to have a budget, but be open-minded to the fact that things may not always go according to plan for when you go on such trips. The last thing I would like to add to that is that different cultures have different ways of doing things, and that's part of the adventure. So don't be so fixated on this is the way it's done in my country, everywhere else has to comply. That's the beautiful thing about travel. Like, you learn different things about different cultures. So yeah. Despite all the surprises, I really loved every moment that I got to spend in Cancun. So I'm curious, let me know in the comments, what's one thing that totally shocked you when you traveled to a new place recently? Also, if you enjoyed this video, watch out for my next video where I'll be sharing my top 7 experiences in Cancun, which will be based on nature, culture, and adventure. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and happy travels. Bye. It shocked me about traveling to Mexico. Oh my goodness, I was close to it. It's pesos that should be used as the form of bartering for things. As trading. Should be used for Spanish. Words in Spanish are you had underground diving at the underwater museum, scuba diving, kayaking. So those 3 cost 2,470. There was the dolphin interaction, as well as the professional fees. There's a cost to taking. My previous video titled "Was it what was the amount was my in my Lord."